All right, hello students. I am going to show you everything you need to be successful with your assignment for the MS Pulse, which we just call webcasting here. Okay, so let's get into it. We're in the studios, and right now you do hear an echo because I'm using the shotgun mic, which is right above the camera, rather than a handheld mic, which is important rule number one or fact number one or whatever, and that is always use the handheld microphones because they work. They have a vicinity of about, what is that, 10 centimeters in front of them that works. Okay, so that works right here. It does not work down here. Okay, so you got to have it pretty close to your mouth for it to work, and it's also not going to pick up the rest of the stuff from the room. It's not connected right now, so you don't hear it. But when I switch over to it, you're going to understand what it's all about. So let's get started. Okay, so you have your assignment, and your assignment is going to be at either set A, set B, or set C, or it's going to be out in the wild somewhere where you're going to shoot it. So let's pretend that your assignment is for set A, which is right here behind me. Okay, so it's at the table here, and we have a lower camera. So the first thing you need to do is hook up your microphone if it's not already hooked up. It probably will be already hooked up. Okay, so let me just set that there. Let me undo the cable here, make sure everything's all pretty. The cable should be nice and loose and ready to go. Okay, so the cable's good. And I'm gonna go over here to the camera, and I'm gonna plug this into the input number one. Nothing ever gets plugged into input number two, okay? The camera's not programmed that way. It's programmed only for input number one. And I turn the little connector here until it lines up with the pins, and I push it in until it clicks. Okay, it clicked, it's in. But now also, you've got to understand, it's locked in there, okay? It won't come out. Now, I once went away, and while I was gone, I guess some students must have panicked because they couldn't disconnect this, so they just kept pulling and pulling, and they actually damaged the cable. The cables are about 300 dirhams, so let's not do that, okay? To remove it, you just press the little, there's a locking pin underneath it. You press that and you can pull it out. If by any means it does not work, just come get me, okay? It is kind of tricky, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's very sticky. So I'm gonna push that in, it clicks, it locked, it's now good. Okay, so now we have the microphone plugged into microphone input number one, and we're ready to go. So on the camera, all we're gonna do is there's a little switch over here on the top of it that says camera off and media. I'm just gonna slide it towards camera, and that's gonna power up the camera, okay? So now the camera's ready to go. You'll want to adjust the tripod just by loosening the little handles to go up and down, to tilt it left and right, and to make sure everything's nice and straight. We have our adjustments where they want to go. Okay, so the camera is ready to go. So now I'm going to switch over to that camera and talk to you a little bit more. Okay, so I've switched over to this camera, and one thing that you want to do is make sure that the little side monitor is not flipped towards you. Otherwise, students will watch that over there and they won't actually look down the lens, okay? So make sure someone is helping you, and they make sure that your head's not cut off or anything like that, and that you're good to go. Now, a little bit about the microphone. As you can hear right now, my voice is very clear. There could be kids all around here making noise. Not a lot of noise. I mean, shouting obviously would be picked up, but normal, like library level noise would be just fine. You're not going to hear anything else. So you don't have to be like, shh, everybody be quiet, I'm recording. No, it's usually okay. And I'm just going to pull this away just so you hear how far that will just start to disappear as the microphone goes away, okay? So you've really got to get that microphone up here. It is set on automatic, and that's, so all the settings. That's what I also wanted to tell you. Don't mess with any of the settings on the camera, okay? You simply turn it to camera, press record, don't zoom, don't wide angle it, don't do anything else like that, and then you press stop, and then you turn off the camera. That's all you ever do to this camera, okay? So anyhow, just a simple thing. So you do your segment, whatever you're doing, try to look at the camera as much as possible. I know you might have notes, but just try to have them here like, all right, today I'm gonna report to you on volcanoes in Central America. Well, that's not very good, but if you look down and go, today I wanna report to you on volcanoes in Central America. Did you know that volcanoes are erupting every, you see I'm just kind of glancing down at my notes. Try to look at the camera as much as possible, okay? So let's continue on with the lesson. Okay, so you get done your segment. A couple things you notice that when you do press record, there is a little red tally light that comes on the front of the camera. It lets you know it's recording. That's kind of good. And like I said in there, make sure that the screen does not point towards the person talking on the film, on the video, because they will just look at that and not the actual lens, okay? So a couple things there. Now that you've finished shooting your segment, the camera's turned off, you can open up the little door here. Let me get this close to you so you can really see this here. I'm going to open up the little door and I'm going to press on the little SD card and that will eject it, okay? So it just comes out just a few millimeters and then I can take it. Okay, so there's the SD card. When you put it back in, make sure you can see the little gold tabs. Do you see those little gold tabs right there? And then you just slide it back in. If you can't see it, the gold tabs, you have it backwards and it won't go in. And don't force it, okay? If it doesn't slide in easily, it's not gonna work. So I just kind of push it back in there. I push it all the way until it locks again, and then I close the door, okay? That's how to do it. So we gotta get it back out again. Now that we have our segment on our little card, we need to go to our MacBook and get this transferred into our MacBook, okay? Okay, so here we are. I've got my MacBook. Number one, you gotta make sure iMovie is running, okay? Because we're gonna use iMovie's auto import function to get our videos into here. So iMovie is running. I'm going to go ahead and create a new movie. Now, if you already started on the movie, obviously you would open up the older file that you had of maybe something you started because you're just adding some video to it. But we're creating a new one, okay? So then I need to use an adapter because I have a newer MacBook that has only USB-C. A lot of you have already the SD card reader on the side, so you just insert that on the side, but I need to use the reader. Again, if it goes in, great. If it doesn't, like it's not going in, just flip it over and push it in so the gold tabs go in. And then I'm gonna plug that into my MacBook USB-C connector. Again, you would just probably use the one on the right-hand side of your MacBook. Okay, so we're connected here and it detects automatically. If it doesn't, just go ahead and in iMovie here, there's a little down arrow. That's the import function. Go ahead and press the down arrow and you'll get this import window here. And it's already selected the Canon. It might be named something else, I don't know, but this little SD card is called Canon, so that works great. And then I can see my one little clip that I did, that little demo with you guys talking about volcanoes and showing you the microphone. So I can see that there, so I can just highlight it. It might have 30 other files on this card that belong to someone else. So just find the one that's yours. You might have to scroll around a little bit, highlight it. If you need to do more, you can just hold down the command button and just tap on each one, and then you will select multiple ones. And then I'm just going to do import selected there. And now it's importing it into my iMovie. And I can see it's coming in right now because the little clock is closing. And now it's done. And now it says I can eject this. So I'm gonna go ahead and eject, take that out. And then obviously I would go back to the camera and put it in the camera. Remember, you want to see it so you can see the little gold tabs, and you're gonna just slide it into the little slot in the camera, push it till it's all the way in and locked in, and then just close the little door on the camera. Okay, so now that we have the footage imported into iMovie, I'm gonna switch over to screen recording, and I'm gonna show you what to do with the footage here, okay? Okay, so here we are in iMovie. You can see here's the clip I just imported. You might have more than this. You might have a bunch of clips or whatever, but you just simply select it. I just tapped once on it. I'm just gonna drag this down here to my timeline. Okay, so the first thing we want to notice is the audio levels down here. Let me just zoom in just a little bit more here in my settings. You want it just to peek into the yellow, just like it's doing here. This is a really great recording. Except when I backed it away. You see when I backed it away, this is the only part that looks really bad. And then the rest just peeks into the yellow. A lot of it dips below, but just a little bit of yellow, nothing in the red. This just shows me that this is a great recording. Okay, so if your audio is really bad, you gotta go reshoot it. Okay, nothing worse than bad audio. So number one, we've got some really great recording. The audio looks good if we listen to it. I mean, shouting obviously would be picked up, but normal, like library level. Yeah, that's great. We got really great levels there. Okay, so we've got good audio. Let's just talk about some basic editing here. I've got this part here where I'm going to sit down. I can just grab the front edge and drag it forward to just before I start talking, right there. Oh, I can tell I'm a little slanted here. Okay, I don't want that, so let me just get rid of that too. All those things I don't want you to really see, right to there. Okay, so I've switched over to this camera. Okay, so that's a simple edit on the front, and the back I can do the same thing. I'm just going to get rid of this part of me walking away from it. And right there, let me just see what that's. As much as possible. Okay, so let's continue on with the lesson. Okay, I don't want to get that me setting down the microphone. I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, let's say there's a chunk in the middle, this part where I have bad audio. And I'm just going to pull this away just so you hear how far. Okay, what I can do here, let's say I want to get a piece of the middle out of there. Zoom in so you get a really close idea. Look at the waveforms here, and let's say it's this sentence right here. You can see how there's a a gap and a gap, that usually means there's a sentence because I have to take a breath.
It is set on automatic.
So I say up here.
Up here, it is set on automatic.
Okay, so let's say I want to get rid of this. Up here, it's usually set on automatic. So I go in front of it where I want to do the cut, and I just do a selection here, which is a 2-finger tap on mine. It might be a little different on yours, but I can just tell it to split clip. So I do a 2-finger tap, split clip. So now we have a clip here and a clip here, and then I go to the end of this little sentence right here in this little gap, and I split the clip. Now I have 3 of them. I have this one, and this one, and this is the bad one. So I can just press delete on the keyboard, and now it's gone, so it'll just go from one into the other. Watch.
Get that microphone. And that's, so all the settings, that's what I also wanted to tell you, don't mess with any of the settings.
So see, it's gone. That whole sentence I said is gone. Now you can undo. I can do Command Z, and I can bring it back, and I can turn off the cuts, and so now it's back to being one clip again. But that's how you cut out a piece from the middle. Okay, now the last thing we need to show you is how to bring in some good B-roll. B-roll is anything besides you talking. A-roll is you talking to the camera. B-roll is something else.
You know, just,
So let's just say, okay, so I think, because I hold up my hand, I pretend those are my notes, and I start.
All right, today I'm going to report to you on volcanoes in Central America. Well, that's not very good, but if you look down and go...
Okay, so that's me trying to show you that you should be looking at the camera. Now we're talking about volcanoes in Central America. So let me go to Safari, or you could go to Chrome, whichever one you're going to, and let's go ahead and go to Google Images just to find some good images to use. Now, I got to tell you the one thing is that we never use low-res images. And let me just, volcano. Let me just show you here. Okay, so sometimes students will, let me just close this window a little bit just to really show you what I see students doing. Oops. And let me just make this one smaller. Okay, let me show you the one thing we don't want to do, and that is take low-res images. Don't ever take these thumbnails, okay? There is no forgiveness on our show if you ever use these thumbnails. I'm going to show you what you need to do. First thing you need to do is you got to go to Tools, and you got to tell it you only want large images, okay? Basically you're saying I only want high-res images. Okay, now you still don't want to take these, and I'm going to show you an example like this one right here. If I just go ahead and take that, all I've done is I've taken the thumbnail of it. I've taken the low-res thumbnail of a high-res image. Okay, so it's kind of it's kind of weird, but it's just like you had a beautiful thing and all you took was just the little like postage stamp size of it. You don't want that. So what you do is you just click once on it, and now watch, it's loading. Do you see these little load bars there? Now this is the high-res. Even though it's not much bigger than this is the high-res image. And it's just, it's all there. All the information is there. Where this one here, very little information is here. It's just trying to put as many as it can on the page very quickly, where this is high res. So now if I take this and I drag it over to my desktop, now I have both images on my desktop, and I'll show you what those look like later in iMovie. So let's go over to iMovie and compare those two images. Okay, so I want to put an image where I start talking about volcanoes on top of it. I want to put some B-roll. So let me go ahead and get those. Let me go here into Recents. And into my okay, so here are the two. Here's the low-res one, where it's just called Unknown One, and here's the high-res. And let me just show you the difference there. Okay, I'm going to put the low-res one that, remember, this is the one I just did this famous little trick. I took the thumbnail and I drug it over. Never do that. Always click once on it and then take the high-res image here. Okay, so here's what the low-res one looks like. I've just drug it into the timeline here, and you put it on top, and then it will show this as I'm talking, okay?
I want to report to you on volcanoes in Central America.
And you're going, well, that doesn't look that bad, but watch. I'm going to put the high-res one right behind it. Let me go here and take the high-res one. And I can tell by the file size, if I look at it here. Oops, let me just go into here. See, one is 7 kilobytes, which is barely any information at all, and one is 1.6 megabytes. Which one do you think is going to be more clear, right? It's going to be the larger file. So let me just move this back here again, and then we'll bring down the high-res version of it, and we'll put a little gap where I'm talking. No, let's put them, actually we'll put them end to end, so you can really compare them from shot to shot. Okay, so let me just do this full screen, and you can see the difference between the two.
I want to report to you on
Okay, look at how pixel and how bad this one is. It's horrible. And now look at how clear this one
I'm
is.
just kind of glancing down at my notes.
Okay, so see what I'm saying there? So only ever use high-res images. So let's just review that one more time because I've gone around and around and around on this with students. Never drag these ones onto your desktop. You have to click once on it, wait for it to load, and then you can take this one to your desktop, okay? And all these ones here, especially when you see it loading, you know that it's like there, loaded for a little bit. Loading, loading, loading. You know it's going to be good if it takes a while to load. Okay. So, and also remember, I went to Tools and I said, only show me large images so that I can have good quality in the show. So I think we've covered everything you need to know. This is how you, and of course you can change the length of these things to whatever you want to do. So it can show a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Actually, we're going to delete that because no low-res images are ever allowed in the show. But that's how you put some B-roll on top of you talking. If it's video you put on top of you talking, you will have to take the volume and turn down the volume, okay? Again, if you have segments that not very much of it's peeking into the yellow, you might have to go and turn your volume up a little bit so that your audio is peeking into the yellow. And I think that kind of covers it for basic editing and how to be successful. So the last thing you need to do is click on projects here, give it a name. So usually it's the episode. So it'll be episode 0010, maybe 0010, maybe it's episode 10. And this is international news. Something that I can find at international news there. I abbreviated it. And then now it's got a good name on it. And then to give it to me, you just tap once on it, go up here to the share button and send it as a file to your computer. Make sure you have the same settings as this. It says the news on, the title is right here. You want to have video and audio as high a resolution as it's possible. Sometimes 720 is the highest it'll go, but take it as high as it'll go. And then just high quality, doesn't have to be best, just high quality and faster compression is fine. And then just hit next and it'll say, hey, where do you want to store that? You can put that right on your desktop so you can find it really easy again and save that to your desktop. Wait for this little circle up here to close and then it'll be done exporting it to your desktop. Once you have it on your desktop, of course, then you can upload it to my Google Drive so you can turn it in, okay? But that's essentially everything you need to know to be successful on the MS Pulse show.